Iranians in their millions have flooded the streets of the capital Tehran and other major cities to voice support for the Islamic Republic establishment. The mass rallies were held on the anniversary of the 2009 pro-Islamic Republic marches that put an end to the post-election turmoil back then. The protesters condemned some Western countries' interference in Iran's internal affairs. Back in 2009, the US and the UK played a key role in inciting violence to a group of people who opposed the election results. However, the plot was foiled on December 30, 2009, when millions of Iranians from all walks of life staged rallies throughout the country in a show of support for the Islamic Republic.
But the most incredible thing for me is to actually see so many tens of thousands of people coming out on the street in support of their government. You wouldn't even get 10 people coming out on the streets of London in support for Theresa May and the Conservative government. It simply wouldn't happen. Never in Britain, because there isn't that genuine support for the government. The government is seen as a problem, as actually against the will of the people, imposing measures they don't have to on the poor, just simply to give favours to their rich friends. And so there's a completely different atmosphere in Britain.
Just like any other democratic society, Iranians are allowed to vent their anger and their grievances through peaceful means. Just one day before the mass pro-Islamic Republic rallies, a group of people took to the streets in several cities to vent their frustration with the government's economic policies. They protested against jumping prices of basic food products and some austerity measures included in the government's budget proposal for the upcoming fiscal year. President Hassan Rouhani, who won a second term in office during the May election, pledged to curb inflation, which rose due to years of Western-imposed sanctions on Iran over the country's nuclear program. Following the implementation of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, Washington has kept hindering Tehran's efforts to do business with foreign companies. And that has been a factor behind the country's continuing economic problems.
So it's very brave of the Iranian government to even allow protests. And it shows what a mature democracy Iran is becoming, that they can allow such protests, because we know that the United States has been trying to control Iran for literally for decades. For example, with the Mossadegh government in the 1950s, the US CIA has admitted they overthrew Mossadegh and installed the Shah in charge in Iran. So we've seen massive amounts of interference, so it's a bit cheeky.
Shortly after the protests against the economic situation in parts of Iran, in a tweet, U.S. President Donald Trump condemned the arrest of some demonstrators, telling Tehran that the world is watching. In similar comments, the U.S. State Department accused Iran's leaders of pursuing destabilizing policies. In reaction, Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesman denounced such comments as cheap, worthless, and invalid. Bahram Ghasemi also slammed U.S. officials' quote, duplicitous and opportunist support for recent gatherings in parts of the country.
We know for a fact that in countries like Libya and Syria, the West has been using protest movements, helping fund them through instruments like the National Endowment for Democracy. The United States uses this to fund protest movements all around the world, and particularly in countries where it wants to see regime change. So there is an explicit funding from the US for any group in any country which they don't get on with the government in order to try and overthrow that government.
Separately, Russia has accused the U.S. of, quote, direct interference into the electoral process after the State Department criticized Moscow's decision to ban an opposition leader from running for president. Washington's inflammatory comments and its meddlings are seemingly aimed at fanning the flames of discontent at governments who put obstacles in the way of the U.S. trying to fulfill its hegemonic goals.